Joel Eriksson and Max Günther all finishing ahead of the championship leader. They were first, second and third. Lando Norris finished in fourth place. And it was all really as a result of the fact that he didn't have his best qualifying session yesterday in fourth place.
Absolutely, and this is going to be a big quality session, I think, mainly for Maxi Günther. He got in the front row for this morning's race, but lost that position. He dropped down to third, finished third, and it meant that where he could have taken 15 points out of Lando, he ended up only taking 5, and that's a very big loss. And you could see the disappointment on his face when he did get out of this car from after qualifying yesterday, and he'll be hoping. He'll be hoping that he'll be able to put that right today and maybe do like his teammate Callum and nab that critical pole position. Of course, Callum and Joel Eriksson, that is, from Motor Park, they're not going to want to give it up either.
So Guan Yu prepping for the session, had a chat with Guan during the lunch break, and he felt that it made some strides forward in the race setup of the car compared to how it was in qualifying. He's been struggling with the balance a little bit, but and also said he never really got his lap together in qualifying. He said we can get it all right, we can get all the sectors spot on, we should be up there in the top 6. So Guan Yu hoping to improve. Spoke to him and to Callum Ilott. Both of them said the track had stayed pretty similar over the course of the weekend, from yesterday's practice sessions to today's and qualifying session yesterday, which was towards the end of the afternoon, to the race in much sunnier conditions earlier on this morning. The track was very similar. The big difference was that it's pretty still today, and there was quite a bit of wind around yesterday. There is the championship leader. The situation in the points then, after the race earlier on today, is that with his fourth place finish, and he was fifth for most of the race, it was only very late on, with a very good move, he managed to find his way past the Japanese driver Tadazuki Makino for fourth place. That moves Lando on to 393 points, Max Günther on 323, 70 behind, and 108 points behind on 285, but up to third in the standings now, Callum Ilott, and 283 points for Joel Eriksson. That puts him 110 behind. Only those four mathematically, by my reckoning, can win it now, because there's only 125 points still left available, with the 2 races to come here and the 3 races that we'll have in a couple of weeks' time at the season finale at Hockenheim. Nice to see the Brollies out here at Spielberg to get the sun out of the eyes and keep the drivers a little bit cooler, rather than for bad weather, which we have had here in the past. But it's one of those beautiful weekends here. A 20-minute session underway. Only a couple of drivers have ventured out onto the circuit, but they are now starting to come out. Now, it's Tadazuki Makino, then, last year's runner-up in the Japanese Formula 4 Championship. He's about to venture out. And his teammate, Jake Hughes, who almost got into the points from the back of the field in the first race earlier on, is going out now as well. He had a 10-place grid penalty, having qualified 12th fastest yesterday. The grid penalty was for an engine change. That meant he had to start right at the back of the field in race number 1. But it's so tight that, Lee, with a couple of tenths lost around here, which doesn't sound a lot, a couple of tenths of a second, but that almost covers usually about 6 or 7 places on the grid, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he was just sort of looking at yesterday's qualifying times as Callum Ilott got pole with a 1:23.3. 18th place was Devin Di Francesco with a 1:24.1. It's just under 9/10 of a second carried first to 18th places, as we see Petro Piquet going out in his first start lap. He got a point earlier on today for 10th place. One thing we must actually probably clarify, if those of you who watched race 1, there was an incident during the race between Nikita Mazepin and Harrison Newey that was under investigation when we actually left that particular broadcast. The stewards have come to a decision to penalise Harry Newey. They added, in lieu of a drive-through penalty, they added 20 seconds time penalty onto the onto Newey's actual race time. So he was classified 19th, and it didn't affect his position. He finished 19th. Mazepin, of course, retired from that race, but they added 2 penalty points to Harrison Newey's licence.
And something that we became aware of when we were down in the pits after race 1 was that Callum Ilott had actually been had a monocoque change, so he damaged yesterday right at the end of qualifying by going over the curbs his car, and had to pretty much change the monocoque overnight. Well, the new one's obviously fine, isn't it, because he won the race. But great job done by the team there to get that work done overnight and then present Callum with a race-winning car just a few hours later.
what's interesting now, Chris, about this particular session is, yes, the track is a little bit warmer than it was when we had race 1 this morning, but it's actually gone through a full cycle because the temperature really did rise quite a bit for a DTM race earlier on. The track temperature for that got up to 38 degrees Celsius, but it's actually beginning to dip now as we get into the late afternoon and early evening. The temperature's beginning to drop a little, so we're actually going back towards the temperatures that we did see this morning. But instead we've had qualifying for the Audi TT Cup, we've had a full DTM race. So the track conditions are actually quite different. There's an awful lot more rubber laid down in the circuit, there's an awful lot more dirt and grime around, and it's not like the circuit is cleaned before sessions. So there's an awful lot more muck and grime and dirt on the track, and that can sometimes mean your initial runs are probably a bit of a write-off as you pick up little bits of grime on your tyres.
And obviously, in the confines of a 20-minute session, there's only so much you can do to the car once you're out there and coming back into the pits. It's all really to do with tyre pressure. You can change a few bits and bobs, but yeah, you have to figure out the setup from data that the team has gained over the years, and they'll have all this data from different conditions, different track temperatures, air temperatures, to find the optimum setup and develop that during the course of the weekend. And then it's up to the drivers to try and drive around it, figure out the track, figure out where it's changed, if it's changed, and where they might be able to brake differently later, have to brake earlier, take a slightly different run into a corner. But we're talking minuscule amounts, but it's always minuscule amounts in Formula 3 because it's usually thousandths of a second that cover them. Yesterday, in qualifying, it was 16 thousandths of 1 second. That was the difference between pole and second, between Callum Ilott and Max Gunter, the driver you now look at, who finished in what for him I think was a slightly disappointing third place earlier on today in the first race of the weekend, having had the front row starting position. The fastest lap then from each driver in this session will give us the grid for race 2. Each driver's second fastest lap will give us the grid for race 3. We don't get that information on the screen in terms of second fastest lap times, but by the magic of a pen and a bit of paper, we'll try and keep on top of that by scribbling people's times down. That will all get properly confirmed afterwards on the official FIA Formula 3 website, but we'll do our best to just keep an eye on that, because it's not just about getting one good lap this, it's about getting a couple. And Lando Norris with a 127.5 has gone to the top of the times. We're not going to scribble the times down yet, though, because they're going to be going a lot quicker than that. We're looking, as I say, into the 123s realistically. There you see the view. The drivers don't see any of that. They're concentrating on the road ahead while they're in the car. But if it was you or I, I'd be fairly easily distracted by what is a very beautiful scenery around this circuit. So Lando Norris then pushing on, trying to get himself onto the front row of the grid for at least one of the races. Dearly love to wrap up the championship if Poss going into Hockenheim, so he hasn't got to worry about that. He's still probably going to have a big advantage going into that weekend, but it'd be nice not to have any stress for him. And the British driver in the number 31 Carlin car then at the moment he's third, but times haven't really started to sparkle yet. He's going to go quickest surely though. Mazepan has gone quickest with a 126.3, but we're still finding lots of lap time out there. This is going to put Lando Norris, I'm pretty sure, to the top of the times, but he'll need to go quicker still. It's going to be 125, is it? No, 124.4. So 124.4 for Lando Norris to put him to the top of the times. Jan Daruvala at the moment is in second place. Daruvala had a very good start to the season. He's still second in the rookie standings and in the top 6 overall in the championship, but has so far had quite a disappointing weekend, qualifying in the middle of the pack. Well, then in 16th place, in fact, in yesterday's session.
Yeah, his season really has tapered off a little bit. I think it's almost as if he's hit something of a plateau as other drivers, like Makino, for example, have improved. And Daruvala, although he is consistent, he is a quick runner, but maybe hasn't made the step forward as this later part of the season that others have. As we see concentrating on Lando Norris. This is on a slow down lap. Now Norris has set a relatively quick time, a 1:24.4. They're going to chop another second and a quarter off of that. He's calmed this lap down. Now he's going to go for it he's into the final sector. He's put his foot back down again after having lifted off somewhat through sectors 1 and 2.
It's about finding track space as well, and knowing that not just at the start of the lap, but by the end of the lap, you're not going to be tripping up over potentially slower cars here. This is a good, clean, tidy lap from Lando Norris. Very smooth on the exit to the final turn. Guan Yu Zhu said that's the most critical turn on the lap, and he goes to 124.129. Still, probably this won't be good enough for pole position. Still going to have to go a bit quicker still. But on this circuit where tyre degradation is not too bad at all, and these Hankook tyres, Guan Yu Zhu said, you know, you can get up to maybe 7 or 8 quick laps out of the tyres in a session.
I think realistically for pole, probably looking at maybe the mid to early 23s in this session. So once you start getting into the 23s, that's when you've got to start paying attention to these laps. Got Maxi Gunther 16th on the timing screens at the moment with a 1:26.3. He's obviously going to improve massively on that. 2 personal bests so far as he comes into the final sector, just 2 corners to go. And he's just weaving around it again. This is not going to be an optimum lap for Maxi. I think he's going to go for it next time around. And Maxi's, yeah, he's drops maybe a few tenths in sector 1 and a few tenths in sector 2, so probably still would be well short of the actual. He's gotten to 10th place, so that was at 1:25.1. So he's still building up, and there's 9 minutes left in this on his qualifying session. But
Norris
you need two fast laps.
Yeah,
really
exactly right. Yeah, Norris 1:24.1 fastest at the moment. Jack Hughes is second, 1:24.2. Makino 1:24, low 1:24 as well, is third. They all go down one though because Jarl Eriksson is the first driver into the 1:24s. 1:23.8 for Jarl Eriksson, the driver who has had the championship lead earlier on in the season, multiple race winner, last year's rookie champion, but results have been not quite to his usual high standards in the last couple of rounds. Struggled with the balance of the car, but back on form with a super second place finish earlier on in the first race of the day.
One guy we're going to look out for at the moment is Makino. He's 4th overall. He's just set at 1:24.1. He had the fastest sector overall in sector 1, personal best in sector 2. Dropped off in the final sector. He's going to go for another quick one, but that's 4th place for the Japanese driver. Again, one driver we've not really seen set a lap time yet is race 1 race winner Callum Isle at 17th at the moment. He's completed an outlap and three well, quick laps, so he's not really gone for a proper quali time yet.
And yesterday, Isla and Gunter, the 2 Premier teammates, were trading pole position lap times, and it was on his very last lap of the session. And he said potentially the damage had already been done to the car by then. You remember I mentioned the monocoque? Well, he said he had a damaged chassis, he reckoned, by that point as well, and still managed to get the time. Jarl Eriksson, can he improve still further? I reckon he can. Yeah, 1:23.764. So that now becomes the new benchmark time. 1:23.764 yesterday, though, would have only got you 12th on the grid. No, actually would have only got you mid-grid, 14th on the grid. So there's still some time to be found if the conditions are up to yesterday's lap times, which is not necessarily the case. But you sense there's still some time to come here. Still Eriksson, still the only driver in the 1:23s. 1:23.7 for him. Norris second on a 1:24.07. Beckman's up to third on a 1:24.0 as well. Matsipan 1:24.1 is fourth. Daruvala in 5th place, 1:24.1 for him, and a 1:24.1 for Makino in 6th place. Hughes is 7th. Eilert is 8th with his first proper lap of the session. Gunter in 9th. Guan Yu Zhu in 10th. PK 11th. Habsburg had a good run through to 6th place in race number 1 in his home country. He's at the moment in 12th place. Shui in 13th. Aron 14th. Mawson 15th. Sato in 16th. De Francesco, the Canadian, in his first weekend of European F3, 17th at the moment. Andres Newey, and then Floresco rounding out the top 20 times. 1:23.764 then the time to beat at the moment as we look at Ralph Aron going up to 7th place on a 1:24.5.
And Joel Eriksson's currently on a fast run. He's at a personal best in sector 1, fastest overall in sector 2. Is he gunning for another very quick lap here? The Swede for Motorpark is fourth in the championship, very much on the outside, and it's a 23.431. That's a very good lap, and it's a 23.791 for Norris as well.
Yeah, first time that Norris has got into the 1:23, so he goes second. Eriksson, though, extending his advantage to, what, 0.3 of a second with that 1:23.431. Daruvala going much better here, 1:24.046. Well, in terms of positions, not in terms of lap time, they're all still slower than they were yesterday, but it's all relative, and it's just about beating those on the track with you, of course. Ralph Aron has just had the fastest first sector of anybody so far, so he's 17th at the moment, but the high-tech driver, the Estonian, could be on a good lap here to improve, certainly I would think, up into the top 10, maybe even up towards the front of the grid provisionally if he can keep this going. Still 5 minutes left in the session. as we look at Joel Eriksson there in the Motor Park car. Fastest man at the moment, 123.4. First sector was pretty good. It wasn't a personal best, but a 22.3. Does a 37.0 in the second sector. That's not a personal best either. So overall, he's a 10th off his best time as it stands. Nikita Mazepan, number 99, running through, shot just in front of him. And Joel Eriksson coming through. Aron went up to 7th place with personal bests in the second 2 sectors. So personal best in sector 2 and 3, better than everybody in the first sector so far, Ralph Aron. Down to 7th place though, because Callum Ilott goes second fastest, 123.756. Norris third, 123.791.
Eriksson's lap there, 1 minute 23.623, would be good enough for both poles as it stands at the moment. Eilish and Norris would share second place for races 2 and 3 as it stands.
So 23.6 is the time for Eriksson. A lap time has been cancelled for track limits, and Nikita Mazepan, I think it was, that had that happened to him. So 99 car, has had a lap time taken away from him.
Eilish on a personal best here as well. 2 personal bests for sectors 1 and 2. He's into the final couple of corners of this lap. Just
needs to find a 10th of a second, doesn't he, to get himself onto provisional pole position here.
Guan Yu Zhu goes P6 with a 124.042. Gunther still not strung it together. He's down at 13th with a 124.14 as Callum Ilott goes P2. Overall, it's a 23.731, which is still slower than Eriksson's 2 best laps so far.
So it's Eriksson 23.623, Ilott 23.731. They are the top 2 in the times as it stands. Then it's Norris, 123.791. Daruvala, 123.938 in 4th. Mazepan, 123.963. Those 5 beneath the 124 barrier. Guan Yu Zhu in 6th place, 124.042. Habsburg is 7th, 124.0 for him, or 124.0 for Ralph Aron in 8th place as well. And changes again, because through to improve is David Bettman, slightly quicker, 124.057. So he goes 7th now, ahead of Habsburg. Aron down to 9th. Down to 10th place now as it continues to change, because Joey Mawson has just got himself up into 4th place, as you see Jan Daruvala, the number 27 Carling car going through. And Makino goes 4th quickest, 123.9 for Makino. So that now puts him within half a second of the provisional pole time. Makino, a vastly improved driver in this last couple of rounds at the Nürburgring. He crossed the line twice in 4th place. One of those he was then later penalised, but he got 1 4th place finish, and he had another very good drive to 5th, having been 4th for most of the race earlier on today.
Eriksson's absolutely on it yet again. Is this going to be another quicker lap? It doesn't look like it's going to beat the absolute fastest lap of qualifying so far, but if he can beat his earlier lap time of a 1 minute 23.623, that would also be pole for race 3. Can he improve, as he's got Mazepan just ahead of him, and his time is at 23.545. That extends his pole position time for race 3 as it stands.
He's got like the fastest 3 laps of the session now, hasn't he, Joel Eriksson? Absolutely fantastic stuff from him. Norris, 123.650, improves his time. Second, he closes the gap down to 2/10. Much better qualifying session so far for the championship leader. Callum Ilott third, 123.731. Max Gunther is up to 4th, 123.878. 123.9s then for the next 4 drivers. Makino in 5th, Hughes up to 6th, Mawson 7th, Daruvala in 8th place, and into the 9s as well for Mazepan, who's in 9th. Harrison Newey has just gone into the top 10 for the first time in this session, and Habsburg goes 4th quickest. There's Makino up into the top 6, but Habsburg's gone even quicker, 123.78. He's just half a tenth slower than Callum Ilott in 3rd place. Habsburg doing a really fine job here so far this weekend.
Fastest overall first sector for Joel Eriksson is at 22.2. As we see Maxi Gunther on a quick lap, he's 7th as it stands. He needs to improve significantly to bring him into race 3. Oh, it's only a 23.826 for Gunther.
And there's only 38 seconds left on the clock, so this is going to be Max Gunther's last attempt here. The time is going to run out, better than everybody in the first sector, but not a great second sector for Joel Eriksson. Doesn't matter at the moment, though, because he's already on provisional pole position. You
can forget that lap for Joel Eriksson. That's not going to be quick enough. Yeah, he's well off the pace. He dropped up significantly now. I think he knew it. Is he gonna go for this one last
I think
dash?
that's why he dropped back, to wind himself up for one more lap.
A 23.733 for Norris. I think that's it's going to be it's 0.02 of a second slower.
The optimum time, if you strung everybody's best sectors together, will be a 1:23.3, and he's done a 1:23.4. Ericsson, the checkered flag is now out. And
as it stands, Norris is P2 for both races, and Islet is P3 for both races.
So Ericsson, who had a good battle, a really good battle for the first lap of the race with Callum Ilott. Great start to go from third to second. Briefly had his nose in front for the lead of the race, but Callum got didn't get his elbows out. He just stayed on line. He just kept his cool, Callum Ilott, to fend off Joel Eriksson. And that was really it then. Callum went off and won the race. Not at a canter, but he controlled it all the way through. Ralph Aron trying to improve from 9th place. Personal best in sector 1, but the longer sector, sector 2, which takes in about half the lap, really, from corners 2 down towards the middle of the lap. That is where he's lost out a bit. Ralph Aron trying to come across the line. Jake Hughes has gone 4th and has now stopped his session. Norris with a personal best in sector 2. He's had the absolute best in sector 1. Lando Norris could still get pole position here. Maybe not for race 2, but he could get one good lap and get pole position for race 2, rather. His second fastest lap, I don't think he's going to get him pole for race 3, but could he do it here for the first race tomorrow and get pole position away from Joel Eriksson? He goes through. No, by 0.03 of a second. He misses out.
That's pole for race 2. That is, sorry, race 3. That is pole for race 3 from Norris. Eriksson's best is a 23.545, so that would be pole for race 3 for Lando Norris.
Sure, because that's his fastest lap time rather than his second fastest lap time, isn't it? So double check, but 0.03 of a second between them. Joel Eriksson claps. I've got it. He says it's confirmed to him on the team radio. They're all through now. Eriksson is on pole position for race 2. Norris second. Mazepan third. That's his best. Ilott 4th. Daruvala back on form in 5th place. Hughes in 6th. Aron 7th. Habsburg 8th. Gunter 9th. Disappointing for him. Zhu in 10th. Makino 11th. Again, disappointing given he was 4th with a couple of minutes to go. Schumacher 12th, Mawson 13th, Newey 14th, Piquet 15th, Bettman 16th, Sato 17th, De Francesco 18th, Andres Sori in 19th, and Floresco 20th.
You're absolutely right. Of course, that would actually be second place for Norris for both races, for races 2 and 3. Eriksson, 2 poles there.
Double pole, yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, he is getting better and better as the weekend goes on. And yeah, he found a 10th, didn't he, in the race? He was about a 10th and a half off the absolute best time in qualifying yesterday, but he found it in the race, and he matched the race leader Callum Ilott for a good half of the race, and now he's found a bit more time here to go fastest, but it's even closer than yesterday. 0.03 of a second in the end.
And if Gunther was disappointed yesterday, he's going to be absolutely distraught after that.
Yeah.
9th qualifying. He's got a similar time and a similar position for race 3 as well. Ilott's not going to be overly impressed with P4. And again, it's going to come down to the start for those, for both of those guys.
I think Norris will be feeling a lot happier with life, though, won't he? That was much more like it. I mean, says it all, doesn't it, when you're disappointed with 4th fastest in qualifying and 4th in the race? But that's just how good his season has been. So, Joel Eriksson on pole position, we reckon as well, subject to confirmation, it'll be a double pole for him. Lap after lap, fantastic. 1:23.431, slightly slower than yesterday's pole time, but it's Eriksson from Norris. Mazepan, an excellent 3rd. And Ilott 4th, Daruvala, Hughes, Aron, Habsburg, Gunter and Zhu rounding out the top 10. Makino in 11th place, Schumacher 12th, Mawson 13th, Newey, Piquet, Bettman, Sato, Francesco, Andres and Floresco, the next drivers down through the order. So that wraps up the second qualifying session of the weekend here at Spielberg. We have, of course, got another 2 races to come for you tomorrow. So make sure you join us for those. And their confirmation of the second fastest lap times. Eriksson, Norris, the gap between them on their second fastest lap times, a 10th of a second. Ilott will be better off, though, won't he, on the grid? He'll be starting 3rd on the grid for the 3rd race of the weekend. But will it be too little, too late, with Lando Norris on the front row of the grid and already with this healthy points lead in the championship? One thing's for sure, in Formula 3, anything can happen, and it quite often does. We get some super slow-mo highlights now of our top 3 drivers from the session. Nikita Mazepan for Hi-Tech Grand Prix with an excellent 3rd place finish there in his 2nd season of European Formula 3, and getting better and better all the time. Hoping for some good points this time though after crashing out of race 1. He starts 3rd on the grid for the 2nd race of the weekend tomorrow, which will be the 26th round of the championship, and it's the points leader, Lando Norris, that finds himself on the front row of the grid. An improved qualifying session, and the Carlin driver will be starting right alongside one of his key rivals tomorrow, Joel Eriksson. It's going to be a fascinating first lap. Lando Norris doesn't need to go and win all the races from here on in. He'll know that. Joel Eriksson will probably feel that he does need to win some races, so he's going to be going for it, but he's put himself in a super position here for Motorpark, the German team. It's the Swedish driver Joel Eriksson that's on pole position here at the Red Bull Ring. Super job then, very close qualifying session once again, and the next set of drivers split by just 1/10 of a second. Join us again tomorrow for the races.